Hey guys, Dennis here again. Today I'm going to be working on building a one-to-one Ugly Balun, or I guess as most people would call them, an RF choke. But online they go by the name Ugly Balun, and I've got my assistant Ainsley here, my daughter, with me today. Say hi, Ains.
Hi.
She's just standing off to the side. She's going to help me with things, and that wasn't the plan, but she saw that I was recording a video and had to jump in. So anyways, the Ugly Balun, you can find many instructions online for how to build them. There's various different designs. You can build them in a couple of different ways, but for the purpose of this, I'll give you a run through of the bill of materials, and we'll go from there. So we're going to start off with a 4-inch PVC pipe. This is the end of the, I bought one of those, a full 8 foot length, and I've got it cut down to about 10 inches here. 2 PVC 4-inch end caps. Again, you don't necessarily need those, but they help kind of sealing it up, making it look better, you know, kind of polishing it up and everything. And it also gives you a spot to, I'm going to be placing an eye hook on the end here so that we can hang it up. Speaking of eye hooks, we have 3 eye hooks, each with 3 bolts. And these will be used, one for holding it up in the middle, and then one on each side here to so you can attach your antenna legs to it. This should be good. If I recall correctly, it should be good for at least 80, 40, 20, 10, that kind of thing. Should be good for most of the HF band, but I'm going to be, my intention is to use it on either 80 or 30 meters or 20 meters, because that's where I work most of my contacts. So that's what we're going to be aiming for. You're going to want some wire ties. These are just dollar store ones. You can buy better ones elsewhere, but they're cheap. Some PVC cement that you'll want to use to glue the ends of your end caps on your pipe afterwards. I've got some step drill bits here. I bought these actually specifically for this so that I can drill the right size holes for the connectors. You're also going to want some ring terminals. I've got 16 to 18 gauge or 16 to 14 gauge ring terminals. They fit nicely over the end of the eye hooks, which I believe are 1/4 inch by 1 3/4 or 2 inch possibly. You're going to want an SO239 connector. That's where you're going to connect your antenna. And I'll be honest, this is a cheap Chinese one. I wouldn't recommend using that. I had bought these a long time ago and I'm just trying to get rid of them, but I would always recommend going with something like an Amphenol, better, higher quality. A couple of drill bits, one for the screws for the SO239 and one for your coax, to pass your coax through. I've got a couple different size screws here. I'm probably going to go with the number 6, 632 by 1/2 inch for screwing the SO239 onto the bottom of the bottom cap. And of course, we need some coax. Now, you'll see here, I've got marks, I've marked tape on the coax. So in between the 2 ends of tape, we have 20 feet worth of coax with each a foot and a bit on each end. Now the 20 feet is about the average that I was able to find online for the length of coax needed to essentially wrap around the outside of the 4-inch pipe all the way around the outside. Some instructions tell me 18 feet, some say between 18 and 24 feet, but the most specific I've been able to get was a couple different pages I found said exactly 20 feet. So we're going to go with that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but that should get us to where we need to be. So to start off, I guess, I want to take the end caps off of this. And so one thing we are going to want to do is we're going to want to figure out where we're going to mount the coax, or how we're going to put the coax on. And what I want to do is I want to leave about, let's say about an inch. Ooh. Okay, so let's see. Ainsley, can I get you to hold this here? Just put your arm. Yep, just hold the tube and hold the piece of wire right there. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So I'm gonna get Ainsley to hold that. And we're gonna do around, we're gonna say we're right about there. We're gonna do about an inch away from the top, just to make it look good. So let's do this. Actually, can you hold that again for me? And I'm gonna measure it again. I'm gonna measure. So here, let's just move that. Put your finger right on the tape. There. Yep. So actually, let's move it a little bit here. Yeah, that's okay. Put your finger on it on this side of the tape. Yep, right there. Like right there. Perfect. So we're gonna go about an inch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark a spot here so we can drill a hole. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my trusty DeWalt, and we're going to put the coax over here for now. So we'll put it on the floor. And what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole here, because that's where the initial piece of coax is going to go through. So each end of the coax is going to go down into the tube, but the coax is actually going to be wrapped. It's actually going to be wrapped on the outside of the tube to get the proper diameter. So let's see. Look at that. Nice little hole. So let me get my trusty. Where is my?
Your trusty everything.
Yeah. Where's my? Let's see here. Thought I had my knife. I thought I had my utility knife, but we're going to have to use this big old honker here. Now, Ainsley, remember, if you're playing with knives, or if you're using knives, you got to be very careful. And put that down there. Oh. Okay. And always close your knife when you're done with it.
Unless it's a kitchen knife.
Well,
you can't close.
We got a smart one here, folks. So we're going to put this guy through here. Now, we may. So it's going to look something like this, but we're going to have to see exactly how I want to do this, because I think maybe what I should do is maybe drill this hole on a slight angle. On a slight angle here. I wonder if drilling that on a little bit of an angle like this would make it a little bit easier. I'll be honest, folks, I've never made one of these before, so I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but we're gonna make it as best as we can. Right, Ainsley? Mm-hmm. Now, so we're gonna first wrap this around and see how. One of the things you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to make sure that you don't kink the coax to the point where you break the inner conductor. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Which is one of the reasons why I don't want to bend that. Oh, I don't want to bend this over too much. So we're gonna. Sorry if this goes out of view here for a minute or two while I'm trying to
film it.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to twist this together here. It's a little bit difficult. So we'll this. Now, I did cut it a little bit long on purpose because I wanted to make sure that I had enough room. And the length of it, you don't have to be perfect. So here we've got this all wound up. I'm going to take my knife and cut off this little bit here.
The whole point is just trying the best you can.
You're right. That's all you can do. Try the best you can. And we're going to put a little mark. Let's see. I think I hit the camera with my head. There, a little mark there. I'll just move that over like that for now. Now, I'm going to try to do this without hitting the coax. That would not be good. Okay. So this guy's got to go in here like this. Like that. And that in and of itself might be a better hole. It can be fairly difficult to work with this stuff. This isn't the best. It's just RG, what is it, RG59. There, so yeah, here we have that like that. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to figure out a way to hold it here, right? So what I'm going to do, if you could do me a big favor and hold this like this, like, see where my fingers are? Right there, hold it like that, and hold it like that. So what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm going to take some electrical tape, and I'm going to place it across. I don't think this is really going to hold it a whole lot, but I want it just enough to... Okay, let's let go for now.
Gorilla tape.
Can you hold it like this here? Because basically what I want to do is I want to hold it in place long enough so that I can drill a couple of holes. And here you go. Hold it like that again for me, please. So I want to drill a couple of holes on each side. So we'll do this. We'll do one here. Now these holes are going to be the holes to hold the wire ties. Because these wire ties are going to be what's going to kind of hold this thing all together.
Kinda.
So I have to figure out how I want to do this. Put that on. Yeah, okay, so let's see. Am I going to have to drill a hole? Is that going to be... One of the things I do intend on doing is I do intend on sealing up the holes after with a little bit of something or other. Probably some caulking or some silicone or something. Here we have to be careful that we do not cut the coax. If we cut this coax, we will not be having a good time. Okay, so this is going to go up here. It's going to go through here. Also connect it through the inside. So let's see if I can do the inside first. There we go. Oh, gotta turn this guy around. we go. This will definitely do a pretty good job at holding that coax in place there. You can see the inside. So, one thing I need to get out is my, let's see, snips. Yep. Now, really on the inside, unless you're looking for things to be perfect, you don't really need to remove the ones on the inside. So what I would do, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to fill these holes with silicone. I also plan on putting a drain hole in the bottom cap here too. So there we have part of it. All the stuff is wrapped around. Now we can probably take off these pieces of tape.
Tape comes off because it's already all good and it doesn't need tape anymore. And I will take those.
Okay.
Just to play with.
Okay, well, you play with those. And I guess if you're worried about the, you know, how well that's wrapped around, you can always add more, a couple more, I could add more
and
there.
if you mess it up, it's possible to redo it.
Oh yeah, it's easy enough to redo, for sure. So, I guess the next part I think I want to do is, we're going to see about putting the connector in the bottom here. Now, I want to see, as one of the good thing about these caps is they have this little dial, this little thing right in the center of the cap, and I believe it is right in the center. It's 4.5.
If there's anything else there, it'd be fake.
2 1/4. Yeah, it's 2 1/4 right in dead center, so we can use that as a marker.
Marker to know where the middle is.
Yep, and yeah, so we'll take this off.
I did that joke for you.
Yep. And we're going to have to take out one of these. Now I think we're going to have to go to the, what is that, 5/8? 5/8, I think is what the size of this is, or it's very close to it. I can try the 9/16 and see how that goes, but let's mark the 5/8 here, just so. And I keep hitting my camera with my head. All right. So let's see if and honestly, I wouldn't worry about making it perfect.
Nothing has to be perfect.
No. Let's do almost. Leaves a little bit. You can see where it leaves the there.
As far as you can go.
Thread marks in there, I guess. There. So now that we have that through, we have the hole, and we have the 230 SO239 in there. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to solder the center braid to the center hole, and we're going to have to connect the, or not the center braid, the center conductor to the center of this, and the outer braid to the one of those holes. But the first thing we need to do is we need to, I'm gonna make a few, keep moving out of the camera here, so hopefully I don't screw this up too much. We're gonna mark those holes there, and I'm gonna take my other drill bit and drill the 4 holes for the bolts that are gonna hold the connector in place here.
It is the nerd's first time doing it.
There. Got 4 nice and shiny new holes. And should fit just right. Right like that. So, next is we're going to have to figure out how long we want to keep this. Now, the main thing was having the 20 feet of the cable. Okay, so apparently my camera decided to cut out after about 25 minutes of filming for whatever reason. So I was just about at the point where I was going to show you how much wire I was going to keep out of the bottom to put the to attach to the SO239 connector. So I'm just going to leave about this much out of the end. It's just enough that I can work with it on the connector here, and then I can also at the same time solder the end into the end of the connector, solder the center conductor into the center part of the connector, and have enough to be able to, if anything happens in the future and I need to snip these ends off, it'll work. And in the meantime, while I was waiting for my daughter to go get some water, I just drilled a hole in the top cover, and this is what the eye hook here is going to be for hanging it up. So if you need to hang it from a boom or a mast or tree or whatever, you'd be able to hang it from. I say good thing about having an old bench is it doesn't matter if you burn the bench or not, or burn it or dent it or nail it or whatever. Doesn't really matter. So the soldering iron is almost.
But they don't gotta be perfect.
Nope.
Unless you're a person that wants it to be perfect. It will be perfect.
Well, you can make things as perfect as you want, but if you try to make everything perfect, you're never going to get anything done.
Life is not perfect.
Nope.
No.
Okay, so let's see if we can get this.
Says who? Says Cloudy3655, which is me. Yeah.
Let's just get this guy in here. There. Now we have, if you look here, nice little solder. And I'm going to turn on my blower here.
Leaf blower. I can smell it.
Turn on my blower for a moment to shrink the rest of the heat shrink around that. There. And we shall turn that off. So now we have half of that done. So the next part, which I guess I don't know why I turned my soldering iron off, but the next part is going to be we're going to have to cut a little bit off the end of this. There.
I found my magic wand.
And this is solid core stuff here is not the best, but it is what it is. So I'm going to turn the soldering iron back on. I always try to make sure I turn my soldering iron off because, well, I've already had to replace the inside of the soldering iron, the element in there, because I had left the soldering iron on for an extended period of time. Luckily it didn't burn anything down, but certainly could have. Now, once this heats back up again, we'll do the center conductor here. That's good. And try not to get my head in the way. I think that's an awkward silence, yeah. Now, there we go. Really, I don't need... That's probably not a very good solder joint.
And if you need to, you can always pause the video while you're making it if you're watching it while making.
Yep. Actually, what I want to do is I want to cut a little bit of this off because I don't try to see, and at this point I'll put on some of this. So just trying to make it so that the center conductor doesn't bend and break. So that's not a great thing to have happen. So let's see if we can get there. All right.
By the way, you fellow peoples, you should probably check out our other channel up here
Called Acadian Gamers.
where we play games.
Yeah, well, how about I put a link to that in
The description.
I'll put a link to that in the description.
And you will.
And I keep hitting my head on my camera mount. But basically, here we go. We have that in the middle, and we'll put one of the screws through there, and away we go. So here I take a little jumper cable. See if we can just want to make sure. Okay, no, that's fine. I guess it wouldn't matter anyway because it's both. It would have been the outer shield and the outer shield, but I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to touch and give us any issues. So we'll take that out. See, we have the center there, and we have that one there. And then we have those. Now, one thing I do want to do, given that this is the bottom of the thing, I want to drill a little hole. Actually, I'm going to drill a couple little holes in the bottom to let water flow out. So if we were to get water inside, water would be able to drain out. So, for the bottom, we're basically done. And you can see that we have a little bit of a... There.
There's more than one part to that?
Yep.
I did not know.
Yep, so we have to put this top part here. So Ainsley was asking if there was more than one part to this. So the next part, or the next thing that we have to do is figure out where we're going to put the eyes on the top. So now it's going to look kind of like this. There's a couple things I was thinking, but mainly we're going to want to not glue this on yet because we're going to have to reach up through the center somehow and fasten some of these things together. So that'll be an interesting little trial here. So let's mark a couple of spots. Let's say here. And let's align this so we can do something that's try to get it as directly across as possible. And try to... So look at that, we've got... So why don't we just move that up to... let's say the bottom of that is at 3/4 of an inch. So if we flip this over here, try to do it like as close as we can. Do it the scientific way. And we'll just say the bottom of that is there. The bottom of the little dot touches the 3/4 of an inch, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. So that's almost directly across from that. That should be good enough. If we take the top off, we'll see that we're going to have to push this down a little bit for the time being, because we want to make sure we don't drill through the coax. So switch our drill bits again.
Always make sure you have the right.
The right drill bit. Yeah, you got it.
Or else you won't make it right.
There. And we'll do this. There. Okay. So, we've got that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at... So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to make sure that on the outside of the whatchamacallit here, the eye hooks on the outside, I'm going to put an eye terminal by itself, because once this is all screwed and glued, you're not going to be able to add an eye hook. You could wrap. So the reason for the eye hooks is so that you can attach your whatever you're making the antenna with. For example, if you're using some, braided wire or stranded wire or something, you can connect it in here. Then you can wrap it around the eye, and then that'll hold the strength, and it'll take the strength off of the, like it's a strain relief off of the connector. So I'm going to put one of these on here for now. What I've seen people do sometimes is just loosen the nuts if they can, and because I mean we could, I guess, theoretically gear up something so that we could, have the bottom so that it could come off at any point. But I would like it up relatively tight so that once it's up, then we don't have to worry about water or anything getting into it and corroding, sitting on top of the connector or something like that. But I mean, for what it's worth, it's not like it's the only thing that is on the inside that could possibly get corroded or something like that would be the connector. The rest is pretty much not going to be affected by it, any water. So we'll do, so I guess the next, take this cover off. And the one thing that we do have to do is, so here's what we're going to have to do here, Ainsley. We're going to have to,
That's my name.
that's my name. So we have to put a ring terminal on the inside of each.
Can you talk?
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking and talking at the same time here. So we're gonna have to put a ring terminal on the end of each, on the end of the braid and on the end of the center conductor. So we're going to have a fairly wide gap here so that it can reach from one side of this thing to the other. So let's say we'll go down there. And then we'll just have to make sure that we get let me measure it out so that we make sure we have enough room or enough cable to do what we need to do. So this is always one thing you can do is oftentimes I see people make a hole here. Pull the braid apart. Now, and in case you're wondering, there are some people that do make this out of, say, 213 or RG8 or whatever, which it's probably not a bad idea. It's just that if you make this out of a heavier coax, obviously it's gonna be heavier and bulkier. But that may not be a problem for whatever application or wherever you're going to put it. I have no idea where I'm going to hang this yet, but I wanted to make it out of the lighter stuff in the event that I have to hang it on something that's not quite as sturdy as you know, one would hope.
Tree?
Well, it could be a branch of a tree. Could be, you know, something on the side of the house. I'm just not sure, so might as well do it right. Let's see, we're going to want some more shrink wrap. I call it shrink wrap, but it's heat shrink. Let's see.
Because you're going to shrink yourself.
No, you're a silly one.
Sister is.
Alright, so we're going to want to take, I don't want to fold that over, I would say. So I'm going to have to take a little bit off the end of this. Here. And put that, I'm going to have to take a little bit more. Here. Now, we're going to put maybe we don't need to these there's not as much of a gap in the end of the ring terminal in these blue ones as there was with the yellow ones that we used, or the yellow one that we used earlier. So we're going to put this guy here, pull that through a little, there we go, pull that through a little bit and we'll snip that off. Pull that out. Snip a little bit of that off. There. And now we should be good.
I'm pretty sure you should be good.
There. Okay. Now let's plug the soldering iron back in and get that turned up. Alright, soldering iron's all nice and warm, hot. Let's go here. turn on the noisy, I guess the best use I've gotten out of my my hot air gun is doing the heat shrink tubing. I know that's not what it's for, but let's see. Turn over. Yeah. Okay. So now we have that. I guess I don't really need to put any over this. It doesn't really make a heck of a lot of sense, but no one's ever told me, no one's ever accused me of making a whole lot of sense in my life. Sometimes you have to use the tooth pulling method to get the... There we go. To get the plastic off of the inner conductor.
It's not noisy anymore.
I always like to fold over the end of these to get it into the ring terminal, because I find it gives you a better surface for soldering and it gives you a better connection if you can get it in. Sometimes it's a little difficult.
Or it's just being difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Alright, so let's put... There I go, smacking my head on the camera again. Okay. So, I'll put this just down right there, like that. I guess I didn't measure that quite right. Let's do this one. Yeah. That'll do. All right. Turning on the soldering iron again. And like I said before, I am very much more cautious with my soldering iron now than I used to be, just because I've left it on a couple times, and one time long enough that it burnt out the element on the inside of this. So as you can see, I've got, you know, electrical tape, which I don't know why I'm still using this pen. I did manage to find some additional ones on eBay that I bought replacement, but I guess this one just still works. So all right, should be just about heated up. Nice and clean tip.
It always is nice and clean.
There we go. That should be, it's hot. Use pliers.
Careful.
Yep. I always do that. I don't know why. I think I'd know better. Time for the hot air gun one last time.
another one left.
Well, and you know what I just did? I put the wrong size ring terminal on there.
Oof.
But let's see.
Will it still work or not?
I think it will still work.
Good.
So, I guess double check before you do silly things.
It's always
there,
a good
on.
idea.
Yep. So, let's... Okay, so,
Get you to draw.
plastic I think. So, in case you haven't seen, this is what we now have. We have the center conductor, or the braid, which goes to the red side, the one with the red, the ring terminal with the red shrink wrap, or heat shrink. And then you have the center conductor, which goes to the other side. So our next step is to fasten these. If you can see, we're going to have to fasten through the inside. So I'm going to have to reach up through the tube and try to get this. So I'm going to have to reach up through the tube. So we're going to have to disconnect the bottom. So the difficult part is going to be to get the nut on the inside.
There's always a different part to everything.
So we're going to get the nut. We're going to put nut like this on the outside to hold the ring terminal on the outside. And we're going to put cover on. And we're going to try to fasten the nut. Alright, so one of the things I guess we probably want to do before we put this together is we should put our PVC cement. Okay, so let's do... Yeah.
They'll do it.
I'll just put some this glue on the inside of the pipe there. Oh, smells awful.
Smell nothing.
Now we're just gonna get this.
Okay, now I do.
I don't know how fast that glues, but it seems to glue pretty fast. Got it on there almost right, but the problem is the holes are slightly off. So easy fix for this. Now the holes are in the right place. So this is going to be the hard part to kind of explain and show, but if you look down in there, I'm going to have to try to get the...
Careful.
Yeah. Try to get that one.
You're not doing everything right.
There. We're going to go on this side. So I'm just tightening up with the wrench right now to make sure that everything everything is in there nice and solid. There we go. It's as solid as it really needs to be. And this can go like that. There. So we have both terminals attached on the inside, and we have the bottom left to go on. So Ainsley, can you take this glue, be careful with it, it's not stuff you want to get over your hands or anything. Hold this and paint the sides here. Okay, grab it and paint on this, like here. Yeah, just, yeah, all over. Try to move it under the camera here. Come a little closer. Yeah, do on the top. Go ahead and dip it one more time. On the side and on the top. Yep. Yep. And down there. Perfect. Okay, put it back in the jar. There. Now we're going to close it up. Done. So, we'd have to let this dry for a little bit. But, for all intents and purposes, we're pretty much done. Aside from, I guess I'll probably fill in these holes at some point. But, for now, this Ugly Balun is not as ugly as it could have been. And just to make it official, we will do VE1XT.
Like always.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks to my assistant Ainsley for the help. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe or to like the video.
Have a special announcement to make.
Have a special announcement. Yes, Ainsley.
Be careful, stay safe, do not leave your house, and social distance.
That's right. You heard her. Let's make sure that we nip this thing in the bud and get back to normal as soon as we can. Thanks very much, and we'll see you again soon.